Auzu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Dear colleagues, this is a great pleasure for me to be here with you for this short session. Today I'm advised to talk on the need for Sharia governance framework for the Islamic financial institutions and what are the important aspects of that. Just before I start going into the topic, first we need to understand why Sharia governance framework is needed. What risks are there that we need to address? So first we need to understand that Islamic financial institutions mostly are public interest entities, mean that there are a lot of stakeholders whose interests are involved, whose money is involved, who are looking towards these institutions for different purposes, investment purpose and transaction purpose, etc. And they have two expectations. The first and foremost expectation is that they will be having a Sharia compliant transaction, which is Sharia compliant in its form as well as its in essence and its soul. The second aspect that is very important for the stakeholders is that the stakeholders' interest is safeguarded. We call it normally as additional fiduciary responsibilities in the hand of the Islamic financial institutions, which are somehow different and somehow more and more detailed as compared to the conventional institutions. For example, when you invest money in a conventional bank as a deposit, you are concerned about the credit worthiness of the bank and its ability to pay you back the money. But once you invest that money in Islamic financial institution, you are concerned about having halal returns on that, making sure that your money is invested and used in the halal purpose and halal resources. And additionally, you also expect that your interest is safeguarded from the perspective of good asset quality, from the perspective of return on asset, because unlike conventional institution, your return and principal are not guaranteed. In conventional, your interest as well as principal is guaranteed by the institution, and it is up to their credit worthiness. But when you invest with Islamic financial institutions, this is the additional fiduciary responsibility to place the in monies and amounts and investments properly, as well as you are expected to generate maximum halal returns. So this is the need for Sharia governance framework, and that's why actually Islamic financial institutions have an additional governance layer as compared to the conventional institutions, and this governance layer normally we call it Sharia governance framework. From the perspective of this Sharia governance layer or this whole framework of Sharia governance, what we actually need is to establish some control functions and some supervisory functions and some governance functions. So first is the Sharia Sharia board, which is Sharia supervisory board, which fulfills some of the supervision responsibilities and provides fatwas and rulings. The second very important organ is Sharia compliance function, which has the management function internally, reporting partially to the Sharia board, addressing whatever Sharia issues are coming on a day-to-day basis and reviewing the things on a pre facto or ex ante basis. That before a transaction is executed, that should be according to a set principle, according to set process flow, and where necessary need to be reviewed by the Sharia department or the Sharia compliance department. The third important organ is Sharia internal Sharia audit. This internal Sharia audit functions quite similar to internal audit in a conventional institution, but the difference is that the internal audit is more about the financial risk and the operational risk, while the internal Sharia audit is more about the specific requirements of Islamic finance, that is the Sharia principles and rules, whether these are being complied with or not. And obviously, as I mentioned about the additional fiduciary responsibility part is also considered for that. Another organ which is now becoming more and more common in several countries is in external Sharia audit, which actually addresses on an independent basis the state of adherence of Sharia compliance in an Islamic financial institution. With that, these are the important functions, but they can't function alone unless the board of directors or other those charged with governance, that is the board and its committees, etc., they are not actually fulfilling the requirements that are related to them. Similarly, the management has to play a key role, because even if you have the good principles, those principles cannot be implemented unless you have the management's will and management support and management's strong system to implement all those rules and principles. So from that perspective, the management's role and those charged with governance role is also very important. Although they are not specific to Islamic finance, they exist in all type of all type of institutions, but their role specific to Islamic finance related activities is enhanced in the Islamic financial institutions. This is just a very brief sort of a structure that I've identified about Sharia governance framework. Obviously, it's a very detailed topic. I would suggest all of you to read AAOIFI's and IFSB's combined Sharia governance framework, which is right now in exposure draft stage. We expect that it will be finalized in next few months. This is one of the best documents that you will be able to find on this topic. AOFI has issued multiple standards on the governance area. Some of them are very specific to Sharia governance and some of them are on the extended areas. A reading of all the AOFI's governance standards is suggested for all students and experts in Islamic finance. With that, I would like to thank you for this opportunity and thanks for the patient listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.